Now let's check in with Father Frank and Janet Morena in this month's Gospel of Life.
Thanks, Mark. And friends, it's great to be back with you on Life Talk. You know, I just want to say before we start our discussion here with Janet Morena, our executive director, that it is such a pleasure for me to meet so many of you Life Talk viewers as I travel around the country. It is our conviction that this program, Life Talk, is nurturing and nourishing pro-life activists, both those that have been involved for such a long time and those that are just getting involved in the pro-life movement. So thank you for your commitment, and I look forward to seeing many more of you as I continue traveling the nation for this pro-life work. Well, Janet, the month of March is very important from a number of perspectives, one of which we're going to talk about today, and that is that it was in March of the year 2005, 5 years ago, that Terry Shiavo died. And so many of our Life Talk audience were following that case very, very closely because it is a right-to-life case. It doesn't deal with the abortion issue. But as we'll explain a little bit during our remarks today, Terry would not have been killed had not 45 million babies been killed before her.
That's right. It's the same mentality that doesn't recognize the humanity of the unborn, discounts a person when, you know, they suddenly cannot speak for themselves or wants to deny treatment.
Right.
And especially, you know, Father, right now with all this healthcare debate going on, I mean, that's what this is all about. It's about abortion on demand going, you know, crazy with taxpayer money. And people are going to be denied treatment, and it's pretty scary.
Well, you know, and let's say something before we talk about some things people can do and what's happening this month in regard to Terry's anniversary. As you're just saying, the connection here between the abortion and the euthanasia problem. When the government thinks it can deny the right to life to one group of people, then everyone is at risk.
That's right.
Either we're all protected or we're all in danger. Because the right to life is a principle. You break it and at any one place, and you've broken it at all places. Because again, you're giving the government a veto power over human rights. And that's what we saw unfold in Terry's case.
That's right. And, you know, Father, as you know, in the news lately, there's been cases where people have suddenly woken up from coma and this and that.
There's been a lot of that lately.
A lot of that. Mm-hmm. But the point here is it doesn't matter. If the person never wakes up from a coma, they still don't lose their dignity because they're in a coma. And therefore, you can't deny them simple food and hydration, because that's what happened in Terry's case. She wasn't in the dying process. She wasn't dying of any disease. They killed her by denying her food and water.
Yeah, that's an important point that you make. You know, the right to life is not predicated on the condition you're in or the level of functionality. I mean, it's very interesting when people come out of those states, you know, where people thought they would never wake up. It's very fascinating, and it goes to show how little we really know about the human brain and about the some of these states. I mean, there was even medical disagreement about what exact state Terry was in.
Right.
Now we know full well. We'll talk about that a little bit. We know full well that she was responding in various different ways. And we tell people, because I was in her room and I was among the small group of people that had access to her room. And it was indeed something we spoke about, how I heard her laugh at her father's jokes. I saw her return his kiss. When I prayed over her, she closed her eyes. And when I finished the prayer, she opened her eyes again. And the reason I say those things, relating what happened, is precisely because so many people on the other side of the issue mischaracterized her condition.
That's right.
And they were trying to gain sympathy for their euthanasia cause by making Americans think that Terry was just lying there motionless and unresponsive. But we were not making that argument that somehow the more responsive she was, well, then the more protection she should have or the more value she has. That argument would actually buy into the other side's position, not ours. Mm-hmm. We're saying this, you know, if it's a living human being, you know, the only argument really in the Terry Shiavo case was simply this. This is a living human being and an American citizen. Therefore, America needs to protect her life.
And, you know, Father, the human spirit has such a great, it's just your human nature, this will to want to live. Mm-hmm. And that was really shown by the Terry Shiavo case. I remember back when I was a young girl, there was a Karen Quinlan case back in the New York, New Jersey area. And this was a case where the parents wanted to remove her off this ventilator. And it was national news. And do you know, Father, that when they took her off that ventilator, she lived for another 10 years? Past that. Right. It just shows you that you can't predict what the doctors all thought if she got the ventilator taken, she was going to die immediately. No, 10 more years Karen Ann Quinlan lived. So, I mean, you're not supposed to be denying medical treatment from people. That's the most important point.
Well, yes, because Terry's case was not. You know, one of the reasons why the other side gained so much ground is that, and why so much of the public was confused, is that the question itself was the wrong question.
Right.
People were thinking of this as an end-of-life case.
Right.
Obviously, as you know, and the church and the pro-life movement teach this, that there are such things as worthless treatments. There are stages, there are situations in which a treatment doesn't help the person anymore.
Right, and sometimes, you know, Father, you're in the dying process and you can no longer assimilate food or water. And so it stops. Like we know that John Paul II, he was dying at the same time, you know, Terry was denied her food and water. And at a certain point, he had his feeding tube removed. Why? His body was no longer assimilating the food.
So even food and water sometimes are not, the body is rejecting them. And then medical treatments, of course, food and water is not a medical treatment, it's just food and water. But medical treatments also can be useless at various times. So there is such a thing as a worthless treatment, but there's no such thing as a worthless life.
That's right.
And the point is that Terry's case was not a case about should we or shouldn't we deny medical treatment. The reason it wasn't about that is that, first of all, we weren't talking about medical treatment. We were talking about food and water. She had no underlying illness that was eating away at her life. And the second reason is that this was a question of killing a disabled person, not denying medical treatment. There are cases when medical treatment can be withheld. This is different. Disabled American citizen, otherwise healthy, family wanting to take care of her, can the court authorize us to starve and dehydrate that person to death? That's the question. And so if you start off with the wrong question, if you start by putting the circumstance in the wrong category, you're going to end up all confused and with some wrong answers. That's what happened.
So we want to draw attention to this, Father. You know, on March 31st will be the 5th anniversary of Terry's death. We call it Terry's Day, a special website, terrysday.org, that's been set up by the family and you. There's special prayers and things up there, what to do on Terry's Day. And, you know, the way we look at Roe v. Wade anniversary, January 22nd, where we focus on the unborn, we want to make March 31st as a day to focus on end-of-life issues, euthanasia, how people are being, you know, basically put to death prematurely by being denied treatment. So if we focus in on March 31st, this could become the end-of-life issues kind of day when people can rally around. So I'd like people to think about, first of all, they can order a brochure we have, which gives your reflections of being at Terry's bedside right before she died and what exactly happened. And then I would like them to consider having a mass or a service at their church, talk to your pastor. We have all these recommendations of the kind of prayers to use and things that have been written for you. And then, if you can, excuse me, we'd like you to come to Ave Maria in Florida, where we're going to have, her family will be there. You're going to be the celebrant and harmless. It's going to be the Terry's Day National Mass. The way we come to Washington, you know, on January 22nd, and we have the March for Life, well, we're going to have our national event now every year at Ave Maria at the Oratory, where we'll have a Mass, and the family will be there, Bobby and Suzanne and Mary Schindler, and the family will have a little reception after Mass. So we'd like as many of our Life Talk audience as possible that can come down to Ave Maria, Florida to be there. But if you can't, then talk to your pastor, talk to your, you know, your church people, and see if you can, your prayer group, whatever. Do something special on Terry's Day. And a matter of fact, Father, it would be a great day to go to a nursing home and do a prayer service maybe with the sick and disabled folks that can't get out.
To do some kind of volunteer activity that raises awareness or just extends care to those who are disabled or otherwise medically vulnerable. And of course, at the Mass this March 31st at Ave Maria University in Florida, we'll remember in a special way Terry's dad, Bob Schindler, who passed away in August of 2009. What a great man he was. And, you know, I said before, I heard Terry laugh, and I saw her laugh when her father was joking with her, because he always joked with her. He was able to maintain that strong, positive spirit for his daughter and for his whole family, all during that long ordeal. That's right. A marvelous example of Christian faith. So we'll remember Bob and offer him, offer up our prayers for him and also our gratitude for his example.
That's right.
terrysday.org then is the website. And educational activities, too, can mark that day and the days leading up to it in schools and on blogs. And we're not just looking back at this event. We're looking forward, because then this is what the family has done, and this is a big part of their healing, too. They established Terry's Foundation at terrysfight.org, and they are looking to widen this network of compassionate help. They want to have a network of clergy, attorneys, medical professionals, and citizens who just want to extend a compassionate hand, so that when other families face the kind of battle that their family faced, they won't feel alone. So we encourage people to support their foundation.
And also, too, Father, it's a good day to remember about what kind of documents you may or may not have signed, and not to sign what's called a living will, which in hospitals right now, they're very quick to have you sign all these DNR and DNI orders. There's a document called Will to Live, which we have available. We'll give it to our Life Talk audience absolutely free. Contact us. And we have the different documents based on the state laws in your state. We'll send it to you free of charge. So Terry's Day, too, might be a good day to talk to your family members and kind of see. You'll be surprised. Some people might have signed these living wills, which are terrible, saying, oh, I want this or I don't want that. Mm-hmm. Rip those up. Get a will to live, which is really is proactive on the life side.
That's right. Well, thanks, Janet. And friends, again, the danger these days is not that you're going to be hooked up to all kinds of machines that you don't want. The real danger is that you're not going to get the treatment you do want. And you can let those responsible for your medical decisions, if you can't speak for yourself, you can let them know that you do want these certain treatments by filling out the will to live. Go to terrysday.org. You'll find that and much more information on this important right to life topic. It's always great to be with you. I'll see you in the course of my travels. That's all for our segment today. Now, Mark, back to you.
Thanks, Father Frank.